Oh man, Luke, this story really cracks me up. It's a real humdinger, as they say. just. So I'll just tell you this story because I think you're gonna like to hear this, Luke. Jonathan Majors falls through window of Daily Wire movie set. I just like that thought of it like falling, like he probably tripped. It's like whoa. Psh. Anyway, was he seriously injured?
I think he had to go to hospital. I know his co-star. I use the word "star" loosely. He had to have some stitches, I believe.
Oh, so his co-star like got well, whatever. I don't care. I'm just interested. His co-star got injured too.
Okay, yeah, but did you see how the Daily Wire responded? That's the real kicker.
Oh, sorry, no, I don't know if I did. Let's see.
Well, basically, the issue was that the union people weren't happy with the Daily Wire, and they didn't think the set was safe. And after the accident, they walked off the set. And then, the Daily Wire responded to the union's demands for more. I don't know, like more people, more investment. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They said we don't negotiate with communists, which is hilarious. Like, you're trying to build a good set. You're trying to create a movie, but you're too ideologically just fucked to do even that. So yeah, things just going from bad to worse for Jonathan Majors. Who it's just the most unfortunate thing ever.
Do you know what though? I really don't think this was a window for the Daily Wire.
Yeah, that's awful.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films from the near and distant past, we give them a couple of watches, and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Luke. And this week, we are finishing our Oscar extravaganza. It's been a long road. We're finally here, and we will be looking at, of course, the last two films nominated for Best Picture, which are Frankenstein and Train Dreams. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about Frankenstein, which would be the movie with which we are starting?
Yeah, so just like when I asked you to explain what the connection was between Sentimental Value and The Secret Agent, I'm going to do the same thing here. What is the connection between Train Dreams and Frankenstein?
Well, they're both about construction. That's true. And they're also, I think, very much about somebody in a solitary situation who's sort of haunted by things from their past, leading to a lack of human connection.
I wouldn't go that far regarding Train Dreams, to be honest. I don't think that's really it. But
I suppose he actually had too much of a human connection, you're right.
Yeah, they are about violating nature. Maybe violating, again, is too strong a term for Train Dreams. But yes. They are about
raping nature.
Mankind trying to have power over nature in some way or another. And they were both released on Netflix. So there you go, yeah. 2 Netflix movies, 2 period dramas, of course, as well. But I'd say 2 very different movies. But yeah, the reason why we are also reviewing them is because these are the last 2 movies that we need to review for our Best Picture Oscar extravaganza this year. We've reviewed the other 8 movies nominated for Best Picture. It's just Frankenstein and Train Dreams left. So, of course, Michael, what shall we start with?
Sorry, what should we start with? We're starting with Frankenstein, like I said.
I
did say that, yeah.
Frankenstein is a 2025 American Gothic science fiction drama film. Of course, the book, this is based on a book, by the way, by Mary Shelley.
Yes.
Do you know how old Mary Shelley was when she wrote Frankenstein?
Incredibly young, I do know that. Like, I don't know, fucking, like, was she like 17 or something? I swear that's like way too young, but...
Yeah, well, she was 18.
Okay.
So yeah, close. But yeah, that's quite incredible. Honestly,
yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Imagine writing one of the most iconic, novels in history at 18 years old. That's insane.
It's more than you did.
Yeah, but she did it while being a woman. Although to be fair, in the 1800s, women were they were the dominant in the force of. They were the dominant force in the world of like literature. In
Twilight.
terms of I said in the early 1800s. Yeah, but I don't think Twilight was written 200 years ago.
Oh, I'm thinking of Dracula by that woman Bram Stoker.
Yeah, again, Dracula was written. I'm talking about like the Bronte sisters,
Yeah, and who? Wait, Bronte sisters, Jane Austen. There we go.
Yeah, Jane Austen.
I knew there was another one.
Jane Austen might have been in the 1700s, but yeah, women were dominating in this field. And yeah, we of course recently saw an adaptation of a Emily Bronte work. Was it Emily or Charlotte Bronte? I don't know. One of the Bronte sisters with Wuthering Heights, of course. Also starring Jacob Elordi. Wow, incredible how things just there's so many connections to everything around us. But yeah, no. So Frankenstein. It's a gothic science fiction film. I don't know if when Mary Shelley wrote it, was it considered gothic? Considering that was just the era she was living in. I don't know. But yeah, it is. It's this. I think is a relatively faithful adaptation. This movie to the novel. And yeah, we'll get into it now. So, it, of course, it's directed by Guillermo del Toro, and the screenplay is also by Guillermo del Toro, and it's based on Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus by
Guillermo del Toro.
By Mary Shelley. Yeah, it's interesting that's the original title, The Modern Prometheus.
Yes, because they have a line in the movie about... Well, maybe that should be my lit pick. I didn't have a lit pick, but I'll make it my lit pick.
So, yeah, I can't wait for that lit pick. Anyway, it stars Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi, Mia Goth, perfect for a gothic movie, and Christopher Waltz. Mia, yes. Is that her actual name, Mia Goth? Because I'm not sure.
She also looks like a goth. Never mind. She looks like, it's not just that her name is goth. She looks like a character who is perfect to play. Oh, sorry, a woman who's perfect to play a gothic character. Yeah,
she was in Nymphomaniac. That's interesting.
Ooh, Lars von Trier.
One day we will review that movie. One day. But yeah, no, her name is not just Mia Goth. It's Mia Gypsy Mello da Silva Goth.
Okay. It's a real Emerald Fennell name on steroids.
Yeah, well, surely like a J.K. Rowling name, because it's.
Oh yeah, because also it's nominative determinism.
Exactly. So this movie was released on November the 7th on Netflix, and a couple of weeks earlier on October the 17th in the United States. So Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Frankenstein?
I think quite a reasonable amount, because there's lots going on. Guillermo del Toro is a big guy. Netflix has, I guess, a lot of money. I don't know. But then, aren't they selling... Wait, no, it's fucking wrong way around, isn't it? They're buying Warner Brothers. Okay, that's fine. So, I'm going to say 75 million.
Well, so I was like, I really fucking hope he starts with 100. Because obviously, it's got to start with 100. But no.
175 million.
You let me down there. You're like, oh, it's got to be a lot. And then you went so low, like you always do. So, yeah, the budget was $120 million. So there you go. And yeah, by the way, Netflix is not buying Warner Brothers anymore.
Yeah, it's moved around. Paramount's buying them or something, or someone. Yeah.
Yes, Paramount is buying Warner Brothers because Larry Ellison is friends with Donald Trump. What about the box office, Michael? Of course, this was a Netflix movie, so this is not going to be high. It was probably in theaters for 2 days. I don't know, but yeah, tell me give me a random guess. Go on.
40 million. No, sorry. So you said it's not going to be high. I don't know how not very high not high is. I'm going to say 10 million. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's always hard with these Netflix movies, but it was only 480,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah. Literally, it was probably released because it has to be a movie to qualify for Best Picture has to be released in a theater in LA, before the end of the year. So yeah, it's probably released in one theater for 1 week, and then that's it. So yeah, there you go. Right, Michael, can you tell me whether you liked Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein?
Yeah, pretty uncomplicatedly. Yeah, it kind of felt, obviously, at the time when I was watching this, I'm thinking, this is the same guy who did bloody watery water. What was it called? Shape of Water. And in that sense, I was like, this kind of feels similar to Shape of Water in a variety of ways. But obviously, I can't knock him for originality in the sense that, obviously, Mary Shelley is the one who came up with the idea of this monster guy, but I guess Guillermo del Toro, freak that he is, came up with the idea of having some hot romance. That's not a major part of it. Overall, yeah, it's good. It's a pretty kind of, I would say, solid adaptation, and I kind of like that it focuses a lot more on the introspection, the ethics, all that sort of stuff, compared to being a horror about I'm Frankenstein, I'm going to run around and terrorize everyone. Having said that, I also was thinking, maybe it'd still be a little bit more entertaining if at some points it just was, if it was just a dumb horror. But you know what? It's good. Definitely didn't dislike it.
Yeah, I think it is good. Maybe I didn't like it as much as you, but to be honest, I hadn't heard great things about this movie.
See, I'd only heard things from the Manosphere about it.
Okay, right. So when I sat down to watch this, I was, again, Frankenstein. Everybody knows the story, but yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that great. And it wasn't great, but it was just good. I mean, at the end of the day, the story is a very good story. So as long as you adapt it competently, it's going to be an entertaining movie somewhat, which it was. Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about, you're glad the movie focused more on the ethics of Frankenstein. Instead of just having him run around and scare people, and that is the bar that I'd say, like, yeah, there may have been some dumb monster movies which just did that with Frankenstein, but like, of course, what I've done in this review is I've compared this movie to the Mary Shelley novel, which of course
Yes.
was not just a dumb novel about a monster running around
Oh,
terrorizing.
I assume she phonetically wrote out the words. Because for the record, I'd actually seen the 1930s, like I guess 1930s, like the original classic Frankenstein movie. Because one Halloween, I decided to watch all of like the Dracula and the Mummy and the Frankenstein and all that. And I can confirm that the 1930s Frankenstein movie, which obviously established a lot of Frankenstein in the public consciousness, is literally just the entire movie. It's just Frankenstein like walking to a crowd of people and go, and then they all run away. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so that is not what happens in the novel, and so yeah, we're not going to be comparing it to that 1930s schlock. So yeah, it's like that's a given. This movie should be better than that, and it is. So we're not even going to like compare it to the 1930s movie. And yeah, there's one other thing you also said, Michael, about this movie.
Something about it. I said it wasn't really a horror.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, you said it was similar to Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water.
Yes.
Yes, and of course, this is the original monster movie, which, well, it says that, the monster, which isn't actually the monster, Frankenstein isn't actually the monster. It's got that kind of, but like, it's a bit more complicated than that in the novel. But yeah, Victor Frankenstein is also a monster. Basically, that's the point of the novel as well. And yeah, you could look at King Kong, for instance, as another movie where maybe Guillermo del Toro will adapt King Kong one day. But as like, the monster isn't actually the monster. Humanity is the monster.
Yeah.
The Shape of Water, same kind of thing. Like, this monster is actually innocent, and it's everybody, who's trying to kill it. They're the evil monsters, really. And so it's no surprise, really, that Guillermo del Toro wanted to adapt this and viewed this as the holy grail of his career. He said that, before this movie came out, that he really wanted to adapt Frankenstein, because, a lot of what he has done, in his career, including The Shape of Water, which, of course, won Best Picture, it comes from... it doesn't come from Frankenstein, but you can see themes in The Shape of Water in Frankenstein. So it's like, he wanted to adapt Frankenstein, and so he did. And yeah, it's no surprise that it's similar to The Shape of Water, because the original story is, and yeah, what made Guillermo del Toro make The Shape of Water is the same kind of, he has the same
Homoousian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he has the same interests, of course. So he's going to remake Frankenstein, and it's going to be, therefore, not too dissimilar. So yeah, I think that makes sense, and we're going to talk about The Shape of Water, and it's why, again, this movie was never going to be great, because it's like, everyone knows about Frankenstein, and everyone has already seen Guillermo del Toro movies. So, what are you going to say at the end of the day? I mean, there is some interesting analysis which we'll get to, but that's why this movie isn't like. You're not watching this and thinking, wow, like, my mind has been filled with so many incredible ideas. What was that Dave Rubin thing?
I'm still in recovery mode.
Yeah, I'm still in recovery mode from all these high level ideas. Yeah, you're not going to say that because, again, this is not new ground. But let's get into the lit picks, Michael. How many do you have?
I have one.
Okay, tell me.
Yeah, it hasn't been foreshadowed at all. You mentioned this movie's called, also subtitled The Modern Prometheus. Well, there's a bit where Christoph Waltz's character says, "I will feast on your liver." And I don't know why he says this, because in the original story of Prometheus, and I don't know if you remember this or you heard of this, but obviously Prometheus was the god who brought down fire for human beings, and because he did that, he was punished by the other gods, and his punishment, seems like kind of overkill to me, was to be chained to a rock where every day an eagle would rip out his liver and eat it, and then the next day it would grow back, and the eagle would do it again. And yeah, his punishment was that for all eternity he would have an eagle, which obviously I can see how that works with the Prometheus. Like Frankenstein, he can't die; he's doomed to like eternally suffer. That makes sense. I get that as a Prometheus thing, but I don't really understand why Christoph Waltz says, "I will eat your liver," because he's not the person causing the suffering. So it's kind of a nitpick. You could say it's a nitpick, because I'm sort of like, well, why do you say that line? But whatever. It's just interesting considering, yeah.
Yeah, I swear the name Prometheus was mentioned as well earlier on in the movie, or later, I can't remember, but yeah. So that's not a surprise. So yeah, let's get into the plot, Michael.
Yes, absolutely. With gusto, as they say. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, a brilliant but egotistical scientist, brings the creature to life in a monstrous experiment that ultimately leads to the undoing of both the creator and his tragic creation.
Yeah, just like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
actually, so the bomb is actually called Oppenheimer's monster.
Yeah, obviously I just mentioned that because in the movie Oppenheimer, the movie Oppenheimer is based on a novel called The American Prometheus.
Sorry, I do remember that now, but yeah, I had forgotten it.
Yes, that's why I bring it up. But yeah, so this guy, this mad scientist, full of hubris, wants to create something special. Last name Stein,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
kind of sussy.
Yes, ends up destroying the world. No, but that doesn't happen in this movie. But yeah, and yeah, just like, of course, hubris. Should men or man have that much power? And of course, the creation in Oppenheimer, I think the creation is quite bad. Of course, like the bomb does not have feelings. The bomb does not muse on why he was created. The bomb just kills like hundreds of thousands of Japanese people. Frankenstein,
I admire that kind of like. Yeah. It's important to love what you do.
Yeah, Frankenstein treats the monster or the creature as it's known in this movie. As a bit more kindly than the movie Oppenheimer treats the bomb. So yeah, that's where the comparisons end. But yeah, Guillermo del Toro, I love my monsters. Even though they're not actually monsters and they're just misunderstood creatures, Yes. Again, yeah, that's his whole vibe, isn't it? And that's what you get in this movie. So do you think Guillermo del Toro was he probably was like inspired by the Romero zombie movies, right?
Oh yeah. I was thinking because the you've seen Day of the Dead. I don't know if you remember it that well, but there's a whole thing of like there's a character called Logan whose experiment is teaching a zombie to learn to be more human, and that's like very Frankenstein coded. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm more talking about Guillermo del Toro watching those movies and being inspired. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, yeah. There's again, like I said before, we're not on new ground here, are we? No. With those George Romero zombie movies, Shape of Water, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or this movie, yeah, it's all kind of the same thing, the same themes. But yeah, the structure is interesting because, of course, it's divided into three parts. You have the what's the first part called?
Well, there's the prelude, obviously.
That's it.
For counting, okay,
yeah. The prelude. I was thinking of I was thinking it was called like the exclude or something. I was like, that's definitely not right. No, but yeah, the prelude, and then of course part one is Victor Frankenstein's story, and part two is the creature's story, and that's kind of interesting. And yeah, the novel doesn't really focus on the creature as much as this movie, so I think that is a bit different, and it makes sense, of course, because with Guillermo del Toro, he loves his monsters, doesn't he? So yeah, it makes sense. There's a whole section focused on the creature. What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, and I think it works. I mean, it is a bit interesting that they choose to do that, but at the same time, there's not like a massive difference in terms of their perspective, because even in Frankenstein's version of events, he still comes across pretty unfavorably. So then you switch to the creature's version. It's not like a story where it's kind of like you just continue the story with the creature's story, which is it's not necessarily criticism, but it's just interesting that you didn't go down that route of having it be different perspectives on the same event. It's just a continuation.
Yeah. I guess it may have been interesting if it was different perspectives of the same event, but yeah, that's not really the point of the movie. I think that's what that structure does. Is it like, it's a bit of a twist because you don't expect it,
Yeah.
Because of course, the creature isn't meant to have that bigger say in the narrative compared to Victor Frankenstein. So that's why it's
Yeah.
in there, and it's like, oh, we're focusing on the creature now, and it's just him. There's no Victor Frankenstein for, like 40 minutes or whatever. So yeah, let's get into the script then, Michael.
In 1857, a Royal Danish Navy ship sailing for the North Pole is alerted to an explosion in the distance. Captain Anderson and his men discovered an injured Victor Frankenstein. Upon bringing him abroad, the crew is attacked by a humanoid creature who demands Victor's surrender. Anderson uses a blunderbuss to sink the creature into the water. Yeah, this is... I like this. This is a moment where you think like the movie could be more of a horror, and it was like pretty cool, the moment where he's like, I'm not aiming for the creature, and then he like shoots the ice instead. It seems like kind of, in hindsight, I was like, okay, that actually seems like kind of an obvious thing to do, but I was, it was too early in the film, so I wasn't, my brain hadn't engaged yet, so I was like, oh, yeah, genius idea, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, no, this is such a great start. Like, it really is. I loved it. I was like, yeah, this is fun. I love, like, you with these Danish people, and then in comes Frankenstein, and so it's a great introduction. And yeah, I like, it's just a very well done set piece, and of course how it ends with the captain shooting the ice. Yeah, it's great. I like it. And then we see Victor on the ship.
Yes, Victor then explains that he created the creature and recounts the events leading to its creation. Yeah, so this was interesting because when it obviously it starts off in 1800s, and I knew that Frankenstein is set. I think it's set during the French Revolution. Which they mention there's a war going on in the film. I can't remember the explicit says French Revolution. You're gonna like say, oh, they do, and it's like a really major thing, and I didn't. Yeah, what are you gonna say, Luke?
Well, it's not set during the French Revolution, is it? Do you know when?
Wars.
Well, do you know when this novel was, written?
I'm gonna guess it was written in 1802.
No, it was written in 1818.
Oh wow, I was like totally off. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so obviously that's not the French Revolution. The war The war mentioned, by the way, is the Crimean War.
Oh, wait, really?
In the Wikipedia summary, yeah. And of course, that was in the 1850s. But that, of course, is 30 years after Mary Shelley wrote this novel.
So what I was going to say, so this makes everything I was going to say completely pointless, not exactly. But I was going to be like, when I saw this was set, this Arctic encounter happens in the 1850s, I was like, oh yeah, I was a bit confused because I was thinking, well, the original story is definitely not set in the 1850s. And then when it was like, oh wait, they're going back in time, I was like, okay, so they're going back in time to when the original story took place. And I did have in the back of my mind a thought of like, wait a minute, why does Victor Frankenstein not look that much older? How much time has passed here? Blah blah blah. But so now I feel a fool.
Yeah, it was honestly kind of stupid to read that in 1857 and think, like the war was during the French Revolution because, yeah, obviously Victor Frankenstein has not aged like 60 years, has he? But yeah, well, whatever. So yeah, let's. I think if I was the Danish captain here, what I'd do is I'd be like, just skip to the good bit, skip to the bit about
especially
why...
when there's a risk of Frankenstein actually showing up. Which happens like in data.
It's like, why is this monster trying to attack you? Why can't anyone kill this monster? Like, we don't really care about your sad childhood. That's what I would have said. But
that's like this is definitely one of those stories, or one of those like things being recounted. Especially when he's also including details that he himself didn't witness, where you're thinking like, this doesn't actually make that much sense if you understand it as a story that someone else is telling. Because, especially with the childhood stuff, I was thinking that. Like, just imagine being imagine him actually sat on the thing saying those words. It would be so pointless.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's just like, there's this monster that tried to kill my men. Can you please tell me about that quickly? Yes, let's get into Victor's tale.
Yes, part 1, Victor's tale. Victor's mother dies, giving birth to his brother William, who becomes the favourite of their aristocratic father. Grieving his mother, Victor becomes a brilliant surgeon obsessed with curing death. I feel like I keep pronouncing the surname in the second. I keep pronouncing like Victor, and I just can't stop myself from doing that. Anyway, I mean, pretty standard intro, I guess. Do you have any specific thoughts?
No, this is an okay origin story. For Victor. Yeah, also he says, you could have saved my mother. I don't know why he would think that.
I was also thinking that too, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's like nobody has cured death. Like your whole thing is I'm going to be the one to
It's
do
like
it.
it's literally just like skill issue.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, why didn't you just make it so my mum just magically didn't die?
Yeah, like people die in childbirth all the time. Like your whole thing is no, I'm going to cure death, so you must like concede. Obviously, he's just a kid, but you're like, the logic doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, like you're very much aware. It's very people die all the time.
Yes, absolutely. Some hashtag analysis, my favorite. Cycle of abuse. The core theme is how trauma is passed down. Victor Frankenstein is treated coldly by his own father, and he repeats this mistake by being a cruel father to his creation. Just like sentimental value. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so yeah, that's, I suppose, if we wanted to get into a hashtag criticism, if you will, this whole cycle of abuse thing is pretty obvious. Not necessarily a bad thing. Like, not every single theme has to be really deep and subtle. But yeah, like when he's, and I don't know, like, I guess I would jump ahead of time, but just saying, like, when he's like, literally, he hits Frankenstein, right? Just the exact same way that his father hit him to, like, make him learn stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, this is, like, so obviously he's just doing exactly what his dad did to him.
Yes.
I can tell what this is saying.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think this is that prevalent in the novel. Maybe I'm wrong there. But when I didn't see, like, in the novel, like, oh yeah, Victor Frankenstein's dad was really mean to him. And yeah, it's kind of like sentimental value, and yeah, this father is passing down the trauma. We had trauma in Hamlet. So many movies dealing with the theme of trauma, which again I don't think the novel cares about too much, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's one of the differences, and I don't think it's like a great, like, interesting theme, to be honest with you. It's kind of simplistic compared to the stuff the novel deals with, apparently. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Victor is expelled from the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh for reanimating corpses, which a disciplinary tribunal denounces as sacrilege. I will say this, like, that scene of, like, when he's first reanimated that, like, half put together corpse, I don't even know if it even qualifies as a corpse, remains, that was, like, I thought that was a really good scene. I was like, yeah, this is, like, just something about it was so, like, haunting and gross, and I was like, yeah, so well done there, is what I would say.
Yeah, no, it's a really good scene. And yeah, once again, religion is getting in the way of progress.
Getting in the way of reanimating the dead.
Yeah, and isn't like Christianity's whole deal, like a guy came back from the dead.
Yeah, that is actually quite funny. But obviously, the point is that if anyone can come back to the dead, it kind of ruins the the aura of it. I suppose you can't argue that.
So this one guy, the Son of God, gets to come back from the dead. Yeah. That's like nepotism, Like exactly. no one else can do it. I see. But yeah, so I was interested, like, just in the concept of Frankenstein as a story. Apparently, this was a big deal in the early 1800s. Like, scientists were. We understood that they could use electrical currents to move the legs of dead frogs.
Yeah, like they literally did that. Am I not right that literally Mary Shelley saw that experiment being done and that gave her the idea for Frankenstein?
Yeah, maybe. I heard something different. She basically had a dream where she saw a pale figure or something. But yeah, maybe it was all of these kind of things. Like what this is, this novel then, is it's science fiction because it's based on, like scientific research, and of course, naturally it's fiction. And I'm just wondering, like, was this like the first science fiction novel? Like, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Maybe I'm just being really stupid here. But of course, science wasn't a big deal, before the 1800s. Certainly before the 1700s. Like, nobody gave a shit about science. Galileo, whatever. What's he called? Galileo.
His name is Galileo Galilei. That's a fun fact about him.
Stupid
name.
Yeah, he was imprisoned. Scientists weren't given any respect. It was all about religion. That's what mattered, or dying on battlefields. Or romance. Maybe there was a science fiction novel written before this.
There's actually, I know this. There's a Greek novel, like an ancient Greek novel about some people who sail into space and then encounter another planet. But that stands out as being it's so crazy. It's so rare, and so it doesn't really count. And also, it's not really like science. It's basically
exactly. When I say
there was another planet,
when I say science fiction, I mean you're taking science where it's happening and then extrapolating it out.
Yes.
And that's what Mary Shelley did with Frankenstein. It's like, this new scientific realm that is being, looked at, like electrical currents animating the dead. And again, you didn't know back then. It's like maybe, in decades you could like recreate, someone and bring them back from the dead. And that's what she, of course, that's why she created the novel. So yeah, that's why I say, yeah, maybe it is one of the first science fiction books ever made. It's not just like, because a story in space, that's not science fiction.
Yes. Arms merchant Heinrich Harlander offers Victor funding and an isolated CGI tower to continue his experiments under an unnamed condition. Victor enlists William's assistance in building his laboratory. Yes, I will say that even though, as you say, it's very obviously CGI, I guess that's like, Guillermo likes his kind of dream-like environments, and I did think when I saw that castle and the laboratory and all that kind of stuff, aside from it being obviously CGI, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's okay for people to be stylized, I did think, oh yeah, this actually like works very well for the kind of the Frankenstein vibe. Like this almost, because I feel like in a way, even though like you did rightly emphasize that Frankenstein is very science fiction-y, it also has that sort of haunted castle vibe to it.
You mean gothic?
Yes, gothic, exactly. Yes,
which is why I said at the start it's a gothic science fiction movie.
Yeah, and yeah. So there we go. Yeah, so I think you've given me the exact word I needed to say that. That's why I think this castle works really well for the tone.
Yeah, no, it combines
gothic and science.
Yeah, and science fiction, of course. Yeah,
just like big fake goth titties.
Yeah, I am absolutely fine with CGI in movies. It's just when it looks shit. That's why that's my issue. And yeah, he likes his fantastical stuff, Del Toro. Okay, make sure it doesn't look like awful. This movie won an Oscar for best production design, and I understand there's a lot of like sets. Obviously, when Victor is actually in the tower, and he's got all the science shit around him, and yeah, it's clear they spent a lot of effort on it. But like, I'm sorry, when I saw the CGI tower in the trailer. I was just like, wow, that looks really bad, and it looks bad here. So I don't know if it deserved best production design. I guess you can say, well, it's not production design, it's visual effects, But what I'm saying is,
he designed for it to have terrible effects.
Make it a practical set. Like, instead of it looking this bad, make it a practical. Oh, don't make it like I get you can't build a fucking tower, but like build a bit of the tower. And then you can build some CGI off of that. They didn't even bother doing that, so you're not even bothering to put in maximum effort into your production design. How can you win the Oscar for best production design? Is my point.
No, yeah, I know, and I would. Yes, it is weird for this movie to have won a technical Oscar, considering it did look markedly fake. When an impatient Harlander demands results within a week, Victor fashions body parts from criminals and soldiers killed in the ongoing French Revolutionary War. Just kidding. It says Crimean War into a body to reanimate. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got the devaluation of life here. Using humans as spare parts. Which Highlander does, of course.
Yes.
And Victor does that too.
He's a war profiteer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think there is again some symbolism there, which is quite easy to see. The complete disregard of human life, in creating this creature. Yeah,
absolutely. Harlander reveals he is dying of syphilis and unveils his single condition. He wants his brain transplanted into the body of the creature. When Victor refuses, Harlander attempts to sabotage the experiment, but falls to his death. Lightning strikes the creature as planned, but it fails to reanimate. Sorry, I'm just remembering that in the 1930s, I don't know, I just remembered as I was reading that the main thing that happens in the 1930s one is that they find like the most genius person in the world's brain, and then the assistant Igor or whatever, he accidentally drops it. And then he's like rummaging around in the morgue to find like a different brain, and he picks up a brain that's labeled like example of a clinically insane brain. And he takes that instead. It's like, man, that's a great movie. Anyway, yeah. This is interesting. I thought it's a bit weird that like this whole Christoph Waltz thing, he dies, and I don't know. Like, is there like a thematic point to the fact that he was trying to keep himself alive aside from just the general point of trying to cheat death, blah blah blah? Because this whole thing, like when it was introduced, I was like, oh, like this is going to be significant that Harlander is going to end up having his brain, or maybe Harlander's going to create his own body or something. Like I thought Harlander would function as an antagonist, but he just doesn't. He just gets his head smashed in.
No, I mean, you could say it's thematic. The elites
Yeah.
are, well, because of how this
Endocrine? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Adrenochrome.
Yeah, adrenochrome. Yeah, no, because of how this body has come to be. So the elites, what they do is, they profit off these wars that allows them to fund these experiments, and the soldiers that died on the battlefield are now, of course, are now helping him live forever, helping him cheat death. Just exploitation.
And the Israeli skin banks.
Yeah, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I don't think really, it's a theme necessarily. Or the theme has continued here. It's just this is why he funded the experiment. He was dying.
Yeah.
Of course, he needs to die for the movie to progress. So yeah, but it's a good scene. I like the scene. I enjoyed it.
I liked when his head goes splat.
Yeah.
The following morning, Victor finds the creature alive. He marvels at its immense strength and ability to rapidly heal wounds, but can only teach it to speak one word: Victor. Yes.
Yeah, because he is the victor. He's won. So there you go. Yeah.
Again, death.
The creature, of course, looks kind of cool. Of course, there were 2 other Oscars won along with production design for Frankenstein, which were makeup and hairstyling, and costume design, I believe. And costume design, it's not really to do with the creature, but makeup and hairstyling, that is, of course, to do with the creature. And yeah, I really like how this creature looks.
Do you think that it looks a little bit too much like the thing from that movie Prometheus, like the Ridley Scott? Because it's a bit weird. I was thinking that because you I don't know if you've seen the movie, but
yes,
yeah, it looks very similar in terms of being a tall buff guy who's kind of pale looking.
Yeah, but the alien in Prometheus is based off humanity,
Yeah.
It's meant to be, the humanity's original, the species that, created humanity, and humanity was based off that species. So it makes sense, this alien looks human-esque and it's paler. Yeah, and this this monster or this creature, get the terminology right, in Frankenstein, it's meant to be quote unquote based off a human, or it's literally made from human parts. So yeah, I mean, it looks similar, but yeah, doesn't that just make sense? Wouldn't it look similar?
Frustrated by his lack of intellectual growth, Victor begins to imitate his father's cruel discipline and becomes afraid of the creature's physical strength. Yeah, so this is we already jumped ahead of this. This is very much the whole generational trauma thing.
Yeah.
The only way he knows how to teach it is to beat it.
Yeah, there is a thematic thing going on here. Hurt people.
Yes.
As we have seen throughout time. And again, it's not that interesting a thing to focus on, but it's what Del Toro wanted to focus on. So there we go, And I guess it works somewhat,
Yeah, definitely doesn't unwork all what. Visiting with William, Elizabeth questions Victor's treatment of the creature and bonds with him. So are we going to talk about, because I mentioned hearing about this Manister thing. Did you hear the tweets? People were showing her, having a tender moment with Frankenstein, saying, "What? This just shows that the woman's fantasy is that she can be with a literal monster as long as he's 6'6" or whatever."
Yeah.
Did you see the discourse? I thought it was pretty valuable kind of contribution.
So yeah, Jacob Elordi is 6'5", by the way. I don't know. I just heard him mention at that height. But yeah, I mean, was this serious? Because it seems like a bit of a joke, the discourse.
Well, you never can tell now with Twitter,
Well, but... you kind of can, to be honest with you.
No. I always just I can never tell. The thing is, I think it was, but I think it was from people who hadn't seen the movie. That's my theory. Because I know it's shocking, people might have an opinion on a movie they've not seen, but I think because a lot of the vibes was genuinely talking about I think people were assuming that one, in the movie Frankenstein's monster is actually a monster, and two, they were assuming that this romance element was a much bigger part of it. Because because I went through the thread, because I like to see people be angry, and there were a lot of comments wow, so you'll make an entire movie about a woman being in love with a guy while he's literally murdering people and raping and pillaging and blah blah blah. So that's my theory. I think maybe the original comment was a joke, but there were people who were very willing to believe that a movie would be made about a woman who literally falls in love with a violent monster because he's 6 foot. So that's my take.
Okay, yeah. That's the thing. I don't. Well, after actually watching the movie, of course, it's important to point out that Mia Goth's character Elizabeth doesn't actually fall in love with the creature. She views him in the same way that she views the butterflies and the insects that she keeps. Even though it's this massive creature, who's scary, but to her,
It's still one of God's creations.
Yes, and it's more important, what on the inside. That's what matters. And she can tell that this creature is innocent, and it's not been corrupted in any way. And so I think that's why she has the fascination with insects to show the contrast, but she still has the same attitude. So she doesn't actually have any romantic feelings towards this creature, which again, despite the jokes, that's important to point out.
Yeah, she doesn't want to bump uglies. When William finds Harlander's body, Victor claims the creature killed him in a fit of rage. After sending him away, Victor sets his lab ablaze with the creature inside. Hearing the creature call his name, Victor remorsefully attempts to re-enter the tower, but it explodes, severing his leg. Yeah, I liked how horrible and mutilated his leg was. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so you still have the father-son connection, he still wants to save him, and I think that's key. That's why he goes back in, because he can't ignore it,
Yeah.
Like deep down, there is that patriarchal connection. Would that make sense?
Well, I think paternal would work better. I'm sorry.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Paternal, that paternal connection, and I think that's why he turned back.
But yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
In the present, the creature boards the ship, confronts the captain, and shares his own story. I just have one thing to say here. I kind of already touched on this, but it is weird to me that Victor's story. Well, I suppose it makes sense, right? I was going to say Victor's story doesn't present him in a sympathetic light, and I guess for some reason in my head I was feeling that was in some way contradictory. But I suppose by the time he's telling the story, he has basically accepted he was in the wrong, I guess. Or he's at least... Because I was kind of thinking to myself, like, you would think, that Victor would try to... because what we see him doing in the story itself is blaming the creature for everything. So you'd think he'd be trying to do that in his version of the story, but of course he doesn't. But yeah, I think that's fine, because he has changed his mind by this point. So shut up, Michael.
Okay. Yeah, no. I think, you. What more is there for me to say?
Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. My contributions were always so great. Time for some hashtag analysis. The book focuses heavily on Victor Frankenstein. He is often seen as a selfish, cowardly man who ruins his family's lives because he can't handle the guilt of his experiment. The film shifts much more focus to the creature. Del Toro treats the monster as a tragic, misunderstood figure, almost a saint, rather than a demon. Yes.
Yeah. So that is. I just thought I'd put that in there because, like I said before, this movie focuses more on the creature. Is a lot more interested in the creature, which again, given Guillermo del Toro loves his monsters, that all tracks. And again, he's this misunderstood figure. Again, I compared him to King Kong or The Shape of Water. That again, something which is not exactly original. Guillermo del Toro's done stuff like this before, but this is what he's interested in. So this is what we're going to get.
Yes,
we'll see this theme a lot in the Creature's Tale in Part 2.
Yes, Part 2, The Creature's Tale. The creature escapes to a family's farm. Over the next year, he secretly helps the family, providing them with firewood and building a pen for their sheep. They thank their benefactor as the spirit of the forest. Well, I suppose this kind of relates to the nature thing.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, he loves deer. The deer aren't scared of him. The deer are scared of humans. But, that he can just walk up to the deer and say hello, even though, of course, like, that would absolutely not happen. And the deer, deer are notoriously skittish, they just run away, but whatever. But he's kind, he's pure. He hasn't been corrupted by humanity. Humans are cruel. This is like the gentle giant, that stereotype.
Yeah, he's like Lenny from No Country for... Oh, fucking hell, what's it called? Of Mice and Men.
Imagine Lenny in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Here, George, I found this money.
Getting chased down by
Anton Sugar.
Yeah. Call it. Well, I don't know what I'm calling.
That's it. Yeah, he literally doesn't. Yeah. All right. Anyways, time for some hashtag. Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, I just want to say it's again this like gentle giant thing. It is again cliche. Oh, that's the fucking Iron Giant. There you go. That's another one. Another one. There's so many of these examples of these like gentle giant stereotypes. There you go.
George Floyd.
Well, let's calm down there. But again, like this is what. Yeah, it's just not that interesting, to be honest with you. Like, there's the scene where, again, the scene where he's like stroking the deer is just like, almost eye rolling. And then there's another scene where he has rats running all over him when he's in the barn, and it's like, look out, like he's just so connected with nature. He's so pure. Like he again doesn't hate animals like humans. He's not cruel. Like he's just a nice, kind soul. And it's like, yeah, I get it, man. But it's just not that again interesting. To be honest with you, yeah.
No, yeah. I agree. It's quite well worn. Time for some hashtag analysis. Scientific hubris versus purity. The film uses colour to depict this contrast. Red represents Victor's bloody, unnatural ambition to conquer death, while green represents the purity of the natural world that he is violating. That's interesting. Obviously, Guillermo uses his quite bright colour contrasts in a lot of his movies. I didn't put that connection. Well, I mean, obviously you can kind of tell because obviously naturally the scenes that are in nature are green and the bloody things are red. So yeah, that makes sense. We do love a good colour contrast to reinforce a broader thematic contrast.
Yeah, again, so that's good stuff. Like you said, we love that kind of stuff. So yeah. No, thumbs up there. Yeah,
makes me want to come, as they say.
Okay, calm down.
When the rest of the family leaves for the mountains to hunt wolves, the creature befriends their blind patriarch, who teaches him to read and speak fluently. Now, I will admit here, I was a little bit confused, but I think I understand.
Oh,
it, right?
wow.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this, because I think I get it. Because the first question you might ask is, how on earth does he do all of this while the family is just out hunting wolves? I get they might be gone for a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but it's not going to be like months. And this is a guy who can only say one word, and by the time they get back, and even before then, because obviously he then goes off and like all the other stuff, he reads every single book. But here's my understanding. It's because the patriarch is loving to him and actually kind of nurtures him, and it's showing how he was pregnant with the possibility of intellectually flourishing, and it further demonstrates the failure in Victor's conduct. That's my take. I think that it's intentional. The point is supposed to be that he learns very quickly.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
See, I'm smart.
Yeah, because as we've discussed before, Michael, you might have picked up on that Victor was a bad parent,
Yes, I do remember there were some subtle indications of that.
Yeah, and this guy, again, but he's not judging, the creature because, he can't see him. So, yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll help you, Yeah. It's all good.
The creature journeys to the laboratory where he discovers the truth about his creation. He returns to the farm to find the blind man being attacked by wolves, which the creature fights off before comforting his dying friend. The family returns and, mistakenly believing the creature killed the blind man, shoots him. Yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah. So this movie hasn't done a lot of like these BS misunderstanding tropes or anything like that, But yeah, this was, this was one of those instances, and it's just again rather frustrating. But yeah, again you can see him, fighting off those wolves. And he says something like, it's just the natural order of things.
Yes, I do remember that. Because I thought that idea wasn't entirely... Because he basically says, like, it's not hate that motivates people to engage in violence. It's just, like, people's nature.
Well, it's just, like, it's the violence is systemic. That's, I think, the point he's making, which ties in the overall theme, which, again, differs from the novel somewhat. Where Mary Shelley doesn't say, it's systemic as to why Victor Frankenstein is evil. She doesn't everything can be blamed on society, in this movie.
This was before the Wokes took over.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, it was literally about 200 years before the Wokes took over. So yeah, no, so that's why again this movie is more simplistic than the novel, somewhat. Yes.
But time for some more hashtag analysis. The fragility of innocence. The creature is depicted as a new Adam, pure and Christ-like at first, who only becomes violent because of the cruelty and rejection he faces from society. Yes, it's one of those, like, and this is a problem with, as far as I'm concerned, both Frankenstein films, this one and the original, which is that because in both there's supposed to be an element of, like, he wasn't born bad. Obviously the original, the 30s one is worse, but it's like, all of the violence and stuff has to come from a misunderstanding, which is, I think it kind of means that if you want to have any action, having those misunderstandings will be, I guess, somewhat inevitable. I mean, I suppose they can also have, the idea of people actively choosing to treat him cruelly, which I guess makes more sense.
Yeah, so we've now like this is what this movie does, because you got your fucking tired, analysis that Frankenstein's monster is the monster, that's and I don't think most people. I think most people actually understand that, the monster is not actually the monster.
Yes.
You got your tired, and then you got your wired,
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Which is Victor Frankenstein is actually the monster,
And well, so the way I've seen it, have you ever, that like
well, let me finish my fucking thought, you twat.
That'll be as good as my thought.
No, no. The point is that the creature is not the monster. Victor Frankenstein is also not the monster. Do you know who the real monster is?
Oh, okay. Is it society?
It's exactly society is the real monster here. Okay. That's the key thing. Capitalism is the real monster, which again I would agree with somewhat, but it just isn't as interesting as the original novel and the themes and the musings in that novel. Apparently, again I haven't read it, but apparently from what I can glean from what I've seen. But yeah, go on. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that I've seen this, like, the midwit meme where you got the one side of the bell curve, the stupid side of the bell curve, and the smart side of the bell curve, and the stupid people. Oh no, the midwits in the middle. So the stupid person says Frankenstein is the name for the monster. The midwit person says, actually, Frankenstein is the name of the doctor. The monster is called Frankenstein's monster. And then the smart person says, Frankenstein is the name of the monster. And obviously the joke there. So obviously that's not the same thing you were getting at with the monstrous society thing. But it's just a funny way I remember you saying, it's like, oh, people say Frankenstein's not the name of the monster. But yeah, obviously, really the monster is society. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, again, I don't think that works as well as what I was saying, but yeah. No, so yeah, again.
I just like memes.
Yeah, society is the monster, which again it's just like, whatever, man. It's just not as interesting, but let's continue.
Yes. After reviving, the creature realizes he cannot die and will spend eternity alone. He confronts Victor during William and Elizabeth's wedding, demanding the creation of a companion. Misery loves company.
Yeah. He says this line, the creature, where he says, "We can be monsters together," and referring to his companion, I think. But obviously, he's saying it to Victor. Maybe that's the galaxy, brain thinking. Maybe everyone's a monster.
Honestly,
but no. So we were talking a lot about like who is the monster, obviously, and God, we'll let's just get to this next bit you're going to read out, man, because this was I've said before, there were some points I almost did an eye roll. This one was one of those. I rolled at this moment.
Yes, Victor, fearing the possibility of the creature reproducing, refuses to create a companion. Elizabeth then rushes in and embraces the creature before Victor shoots her instead of the creature. William is mortally wounded and calls Victor a monster. Wow.
Yeah, he said the line. It is just unnecessary. Again, everyone knows that about Frankenstein, like the novel. Like, Victor, is actually the bad guy. I'm pretty sure people are aware of that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty common understanding.
Yeah. I realized I might have got mixed up before between people's like common perception of like who is Frankenstein with who is the monster. But yeah, I'm pretty sure like people are aware like of Frankenstein is not a good guy, but it is just so simplistic to have William say to Victor, "No, you're the monster." It's it's crazy. It's so Netflix as well. Do you think Netflix said, we'll give you the 120 million for this movie, Guillermo, but you're gonna have to, because Netflix are concerned about audiences not on their phones. Yeah, not following the plot. Doing other stuff while the movie is on. You're gonna have to say the line. Or you're gonna have to get one of the characters to say the line that Victor Frankenstein, you're the real monster. And so everyone watching, while they're playing their fucking Candy Crush or whatever, can look up from their phones and go, "Oh, I get it now." Again, that's probably what went down.
Yeah, what it makes you think about all the time is in this one Futurama thing. In Futurama they had like the random parodies of the Twilight Zone. I don't know why they did. It was just like this thing they did to fill up the episode when it was running short, I guess. And it's like you have this scientist, and he's like, "I have created the most diabolical creature ever," and then it's just like this guy comes out. He's like, "Turns out it's man." Dun, dun, dun. And I always just think about that as like the faux, like, anyway.
Yeah, because it's cliche. It's not original. So yeah, and again, this was one of the first novels that did it. The original novel from 1818. So I'm not criticizing that, but it's just like, okay, so if you're going to remake it, don't be so fucking literal with the line, because again, it's an eye-rolling moment. Just completely unnecessary.
Anyway, some more hashtag analysis. The book explores the human condition by showing that both Victor and the creature are capable of great love and great evil. The film simplifies this. Victor is portrayed more clearly as a villain, driven by a cruel father, and the creature is portrayed as almost entirely innocent, a pure victim of society. Some critics feel this flattens the human condition because there is less moral struggle. The book suggests that evil is a choice born from despair. The creature chooses to kill Victor's family to make Victor suffer as he does. The film shows that evil is just a reaction to a broken system. By making the creature's violence mostly self-defense, the film removes the darker, more complex parts of human nature, like spite and premeditated revenge, that Mary Shelley highlighted. Yeah, I tell you what, I actually, every single time I watch anything Frankenstein related, which is to say twice now, I have thought to myself, I actually really want to read the Mary Shelley book, because it is like crazy. Like, I'm like, I don't think it's even that long. Yeah, I should try and do that.
Oh, well, maybe, but it's written in 1818, so you know how it's gonna, be written. Yeah, I don't think it'll be easy.
But did you know that it's actually mostly written in the format of letters? It's like an exchange of letters between people. That's like how it's presented. Isn't that fun?
I didn't know that. Wow. So yeah, Mary Shelley was doing all sorts of cool things, and maybe that was a common, structure for a book back then. I'm not sure, but yeah. Again, it's just kind of what we've talked about. What I've talked about really, how the human condition is somewhat flattened, and there is less of a moral struggle because it's all the blame is kind of pinned on society or bad fathers. Instead of actually looking at why Victor does what he does, and of course the creature is so pure of heart, he's so good, only is evil when or only does bad things when he is attacked. It's less complex. And I think that is I never really like that kind of those kind of themes.
Change for the more simple.
Yes. So what Mary Shelley did was more interesting than this.
Yes, seemingly. Anyway, there is more a binary in the film. A clear victim versus a clear oppressor. Certain complex subplots from the book are replaced with more modern themes like social empathy or the tragedy of how we treat others who are different.
Yeah, no, it's a woker version of Frankenstein. Seriously, again, back in the day, well, you had like Dickensian like novels, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, which looked at how bad the underclass was being treated. I don't know when did those novels come out. Were they towards the end of the 19th century?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I was
okay.
Say, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like those novels were big because it's like, oh wow, you're critiquing society somewhat, Charles Dickens. Wow, that's crazy. People just didn't do it back then because this is just how just the way this is. This is just how life is. It was more natural to focus on the human condition rather than how we treat others who are different. Whether that comes whether you talk about class or certainly in the modern. In the modern day, like religion or race or whatever, which again, like this movie never goes into anything like that. But of course, the parallels are there somewhat. And again, it's just not as interesting, basically.
No, yeah. And also, I guess because it's more modern, we've seen all of this before. So in a way, sometimes it can be fun when you see something from with the focus of a different time, because it's like a little time capsule.
Well, exactly, yeah. That's why I joked and said it's the woke version of Frankenstein, because it's like, these themes we see all the time nowadays, and they're not bad themes, but just like certainly because of what the novel was trying to say, it was like, why did you stray away from that? That's where the frustration lies.
Yeah, absolutely. The creature carries Elizabeth to a cave and comforts her as she dies. Victor pursues the creature to the Arctic, where the creature attempts to destroy himself with a stick of dynamite but fails. I do like this. I like how we go full circle back to where we started. That's always fun.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I knew that we were going to do that, but still, I like that we did.
There is part of me that thinks that Del Toro should be more bold with his love triangle thing and have Mia Goth try to fuck the creature, like in The Shape of Water,
Yeah.
But again, I get, she doesn't actually want to fuck the creature, but there you go. The Shape of Water did it and it won him an Oscar, so maybe he should have done that again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's his fault for he pussied out. I'd say, but he did. Yeah, she said he wasn't tall enough for her. And now more hashtag analysis. In the book, Victor and the creature barely speak. Their relationship is defined by a game of cat and mouse across Europe and the North Pole. The film features more direct, intimate dialogue between the two. It explores a father-son dynamic that can resemble a toxic family drama. Del Toro uses the creature to ask religious questions about why God, or a creator, would make something just to let it suffer. I will say, this is like a classic. The whole they have to speak more in the film. I think it just makes sense because obviously in a book you can kind of write down what's happening. But so that makes sense.
This idea that why the creature would be like, why did you create me? I feel so despondent, I guess. And he's asking his creator, why would you do that? And of course there are religious parallels there. Perhaps that's interesting, but it's not really explored that much in the movie. And if you were to extend that to does God have hubris? And go further with that, again, maybe that would be interesting somewhat. But the movie doesn't really do it, to be honest. It does it a bit, but yeah. Could have been better.
It's already spent so much time focusing on other aspects, the generational trauma thing. A remorseful Victor and the creature reconcile, addressing each other as father and son, before Victor succumbs to his injuries. The creature frees the ship from the ice. Anderson abandons his pursuit and sails back home. Alone, the creature reaches out to embrace the sunlight, as Victor once taught him. Yes, interesting thing here, which is obviously there's also a parallel to the fact that this ship guy wants to reach the North Pole, and some of it's just if you hear my story, maybe that will dissuade you. And clearly that's about pursuing a goal relentlessly. I do find it funny that they've what was his plan? To just plow their way through an entire ice sheet with their ship? I don't know. It just seemed kind of stupid from him.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but but basically the message is you got to care for people around you. That's what you got to do. Don't.
Yes.
Ambition is kind of pointless at the end of the day. If in doing so, you anger people or you lose connections to the people you're meant to be taking care of. Basically that's the message, I suppose. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll close with a final bit of hashtag analysis. Forgiveness. Unlike the original book, this version leans heavily into the idea of whether a creator and their creation can ever truly forgive one another for the pain they cause. It focuses on whether the creature can find peace within himself rather than just seeking revenge.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of tacked on at the end,
Yeah.
It's like that, so the creature is really, really mad, but he finds peace after a 2-minute conversation. And I don't really think that works too well. But at least it ends on a hopeful note, which I can appreciate. So yeah, but yeah, again, does the movie really explore this? Does it really explore whether the creature can find peace within himself rather than seeking revenge? Because he is seeking revenge up until the last 120 seconds. So yeah, I don't know if that really tracks. What do you think?
Yeah. I thought that the forgiveness thing seemed, for some reason, I kind of felt like it was heading towards forgiveness. Even though, but I was they're not really justifying why it's saying. I got forgiveness vibes, but it didn't really make much sense.
Well, yeah, I think it kind of makes sense, but it's just it's just rushed. It's too rushed. Anyway, let's conclude. Michael, you go first.
Yes. So I think overall this film, as an adaptation, I think it sort of functions as a kind of good definitive adaptation in that it does focus on a lot of, I think, similar plot aspects, and it has at least a slightly more faithful, which is to say sympathetic portrayal of Frankenstein. The limitations, I guess, would be that it's more simplistic with the duality of them, and then obviously a lot of the theming was pretty obvious and repetitive. Having said that, I still think it's quite a solid movie. I am actually inclined to say high 7. That's probably that maybe is kind of generous, but I don't know. I think that there's still I think there is entertainment value, even if a lot of the theming isn't super deep. It's still a decent watch, and entertaining in a sense.
Yeah, no. I think that the thing is the original story I think is quite good, and this is just an okay adaptation. So you meet in the middle. It's a 7 out of 10. Sorry, what did you give out?
I gave it a high 7.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to go that far because again, I am just naturally frustrated with. I think again, it was a more simplistic movie than it could have been, than it
Yeah.
should have been.
You
You've
definitely
taken
don't like it when an adaptation is worse than the original. Like, that's something that especially annoys you. Yeah.
Yeah, an adaptation is worse than the original because you've taken it's a faithful adaptation in terms of the plot, but in terms of the themes, it's not as faithful. So and the themes in the original seemed again more intriguing to me. So that's why it's frustrating. But yeah, it's still like a good movie. Again, good performances from Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi, who got nominated for Best Academy Award. The monsters look, or the creature, sorry, looks good. I'm still doing that. But yeah, I think it's fine. So yeah, 7 out of 10. So let's move on now, Michael.
Luke, I must ask you to please tell us about Train Dreams.
Yeah, so Train Dreams is a 2025 American period drama film directed by Clint Bentley, who is a man, who co-wrote the screenplay with Greg Quadar, based on the 2011 novella by Dennis Johnson. Now, you'll notice I said the word novella. Well, yeah, there is. I mean, it is about a man, to be fair. That's not really that shocking.
Novella.
But yeah, I said the word novella instead of novel. Now, what?
Because it's a female.
What is the distinction between novella and novel, Michael?
I see where you're going here. So a novella is much shorter than a novel.
Yes. Do you think it would be hard to make a novella into a feature-length film? Do you think that would be an arduous task?
I think it would be, although bear in mind that Shawshank Redemption was actually a novella. So, yes, it would be, and in the case of this film, as I think we're kind of getting at, it is. But also at the same time, there are some novellas that are just very densely written, so they actually can be turned into feature-length films. But yes, obviously the ordinary rule would be that novellas, in being shorter, and films typically being based on novels, it would be difficult.
Does Andy Dufresne get raped in the novella?
I actually don't know, because the only thing I know is that, well, we must have spoken about this when we reviewed Shawshank Redemption, is that the novel was originally called Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, and some person who wasn't a moron like Stephen King realized, hey, maybe it's a good idea if we don't have the means of him escaping literally mentioned explicitly in the title. So that's the only thing I know.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so let's get into Train Dreams now. Unfortunately, we're going to have to. The screenplay is, like I said, by Clint Bentley as well. It stars Joel Edgerton, Felicity Jones. But both appeared in Star Wars movies, haven't they? That's fun, isn't it? Nathaniel Arcand, Clifton Collins Jr., John Deal, Paul Schneider, Kerry Condon, and William H. Macy. It was released on November the 7th, 2025 in the United States. Was that the same day as Frankenstein? Maybe. Anyway, maybe on Netflix. Anyway, Michael, can you tell me what the budget was for Train Dreams?
Well, I would be inclined to say low. Having said that, there is a CGI bear in it, which would cost a lot of money. And I mean, it's not going to be high, so fuck it. I don't know, 5 million. That's
10.
Okay, yeah, cool.
10 million. And we don't have a box office because, of course, this movie was released on Netflix and probably grossed like 2,000. Because it has to be released in theaters to get nominated for Best Picture. But yeah, no box office on the Wikipedia page. So, Michael, can you tell me, did you like Train Dreams?
Well, yeah, you've already kind of hinted at the fact this film is kind of substanceless. I will say, for me personally, this film is sufficiently devoid of substance that there's nothing to particularly dislike, but there's also nothing to massively elevate it as a movie. I will actually give this film credit for being short enough that it doesn't overstay its welcome. And it does have, to give it some compliments, as they say, it does have a little bit of a almost ambient quality. I guess that would be the thing. It's one of those movies where you can kind of be like, oh, it's cute. Oh, look, this is happening. But yeah, it's not some incredible film in that not that much happens, is my take. But I don't hate it or even dislike it. What do you think?
So I don't dislike it. I mean, it's a hard film to dislike because it's so inoffensive. But what I dislike, I suppose, is the reaction to this movie. You can produce something like this, and it can get nominated for Best Picture, and I'm just sat here thinking, Jesus fucking Christ! Just because there isn't any substance, just because nothing happens. That doesn't
Well, there's
elevate
also some
it.
famous actors in it, Luke. You've got to bear that in mind. That also helps.
Yeah. That doesn't elevate it into being a Best Picture nominee. Like it's all right. It's fine. It's like nice, somewhat whimsical. That's probably its best quality. But there's this idea, because of the fact that it feels so empty it feels so empty in regards to a plot. It doesn't have a plot. It is just this tale of this guy's life and a pretty boring life at that. I mean, one major thing happens to him. Of course, his wife and kids die. And that's when that happened. I was shocked, by the way, because I'm like, oh shit, something actually happened. That's crazy. That's wild.
Well,
Like,
also remember that. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry. For a minute, you were talking about the guy getting shot, weren't you? Not his wife and kids are dying. I mean, because the guy gets shot first, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that's not. Who the fuck cares about that?
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say because that's. I am right. That's the first thing that happens. That's like, oh, something happened. Because that's the other aspect of this film. It's not just got the sort of nothing happens aspect of of like an artsy film, but it's also got something else that's quite common in artsy films, which is that something random just happens. Like I feel like when that happened, I was like, oh, that's like a very like artsy film sort of thing, where it's just like, yeah, man, it's like the randomness of life, and this is just one minute you're here, next minute you're gone. This film really likes to lean into that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, you cannot substitute out a plot and substitute in just like a load of nice shots of a guy walking through, a forest, and that makes the movie better. Like, and of course, like it's based on this novella, and as we have said, a novella is short. It is not a full novel. And therefore, if you're adapting a novella, it's going to have to be pretty dense, to to keep it entertaining for 90 minutes. I was thinking actually, after I watched the movie, it's like this could have been like a short film, that would have been better. Than this, and then I see afterwards, oh, it's a novella. It's based on a novella, not a novel. Okay, so yeah, like that logic, I think is sound logic. Yeah, it should have been just a short film, because I don't think there's enough in here. I mean, I say there's enough in here for a movie. Yes, like it's not a bad movie, but there isn't enough in this movie for it to be heralded as like a masterpiece or nominated for Best Picture. Like it's got 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, it got the nomination at the Oscars, and I'm like, no, you can't just do this. Like you can't just have this guy. Again, one thing happens in the movie: his wife and kids die, and that's it. And you can't just have him like wander about in the forest and cut down trees for the rest of the movie. And I know there's like there's metaphors going on, there's symbolism going on, and yeah, that's what makes it not an awful movie. And we're going to get into that and discuss it. And even though I would disagree with some of the themes that are evident in the movie, and the symbolism or the point the movie is trying to make, I would disagree with some of that. But at least it's there. But what I'm saying is, you still need that plot. You still need things to happen, events to occur, which move the plot along, for it to be considered a really good movie. And that doesn't happen. And no amount of fucking trees getting cut down. I'm sorry, that doesn't put it up to the standard which, again, we are judging these movies on, because of course these are the 10 movies that are nominated for Best Picture. So yeah, that's what I have to say on that. Let us get into nitpicks. How many do you have, Michael?
0, unsurprised. I mean, you might have some nitpicks, but yeah, obviously because there's very little to the film, I didn't come up with any.
Okay.
Well, the only thing actually I was going to say, sorry, it is kind of a nitpick, is that there's no way, like, a forest fire burns so hot. Like, I think I've heard people say, if you are in the middle of a forest fire, you're dead in like 10 seconds. Like, just the amount of smoke, the amount of heat, you would get like exhausted and choke yourself out like so quickly. So the fact he's like right in the middle of that forest fire when he's like looking for them, and you can just see everything blazing around him, that would be crazy. He would die.
Yeah, but he's motivated by love. I don't know, whatever. So yeah, my nitpick is that I can tell that Kerry Condon is Irish. So of course she's the Forest Service woman. Towards the end of the movie, she is an Irish actress, as we saw in another movie nominated for Best Picture, F1, and in the Banshees of Inisherin. Of course, she played an Irish character in that. You can tell she's Irish, and in this movie, there were some pronunciations which were very Irish. I just want to say that took me out of the movie, because I'm like, I can clearly tell you're trying to do an American accent and you're not succeeding. So there you go.
She's supposed to be an actress.
Yeah, the Irish can't do accents. That's You know,
But we can do their accent so well. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Just ignore like Cillian Murphy or who was that woman who won Best Actress for Hamlet?
Fucking, I wish I was like thinking about that, and I was trying to remember.
Oh, it's Jessie Buckley.
That's it. Yeah.
I just remembered it. Yeah. Anyway, so Michael, let us get into the plot.
Yes.
If we can. You know.
A logger leads a life of quiet grace as he experiences love and loss during an era of monumental change in early 20th century America. The film is a birth-to-death portrait of an ordinary man, Robert Grainer, living through a period transition in the American West. See, that time it should have been period of transition. So This is what... Like sometimes I'm like, this is why, because it's like sometimes just like you got to read, but then other times I get thrown off because I hate my life.
Just don't be like Ron Burgundy. You know, actually, if you read ahead, that should help. You know. Anyway, so I put in my notes. Nothing happens. His wife and kids die. That's it. That's it. Society changes around him. You know.
Yeah.
In fact,
there are like some moments of sadness with that. You know, the boy's leaving him behind because he's such an old, fat, ugly man.
Yeah, well, that's part of, you know, the theme of society changes. And yes, it does change. And I actually think what the movie is kind of looking at here with, you know, the American West and American life changing from his early life until, you know, the end of his life. Yeah. It's interesting because, yeah, imagine, like, society would have changed so much in between from, you know, 1870 to 1970 in America. Like, think about the rapid change, far more than like from 1770 to 1870.
I've heard people talk about this, like when is like the period of time where you could live that would have been the most insane. And in some sense you could say it's probably as well the later the more significant. Like if someone was, let's say people live 100 years, which, you know, they don't reliably, but if someone's born in 1926, but I do think actually that's not true. I feel like there were bigger changes earlier on, and probably that 1800s to 1900s sitch is the one that would really be like insane to experience.
Yeah, and that is true, but this movie really doesn't go into that.
No,
you know, it doesn't really go into that at all. Well, I say at all. Yeah, it's
right at the end. It's kind of, I mean, it is a bit. It's interesting because the film leaves you on that note, which makes it somewhat, at least for me, emotionally affecting. Yeah. Like I got to the end of the film and it was like that was the feeling I had at the end of it. So I was like, okay, well, at least I kind of ended on a sense of like the film having a salient point. But yeah,
so he's in the Pacific Northwest. Have him go into Seattle, you know, early in his life, and then go into Seattle later in his life, and it's like, oh wow, look at all the massive changes, you know. And it's like, you know, and if you keep that theme up throughout the movie, it would have been better. But they don't. The movie doesn't really do it. But yeah, anyway, read what this critic said about this movie.
Critic, a gorgeous meditation on America, ably shouldered by one of Joel Edgerton's very best performances. Train Dreams takes on mythic proportions while maintaining an intimate emotional delicacy. You know what? I realized Joel Edgerton. I was like trying to work out, who is he? He's Owen Lars from Star Wars. So I
literally just said before, him and Felicity Jones were both in Star Wars movies.
Oh, I'm so good at not listening to you. It's like a skill of mine.
Yeah, okay. I was wondering why you didn't react to that, and I now know why, because you just...
It's because I was too busy reading ahead in the notes, so that I made sure I did everything well.
What a surprise. You not paying attention. That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, so... that's not true. I don't think it does. I don't think it takes on mythic proportions while maintaining an intimate emotional delicacy. Because, okay, you can say it's intimate. That's true somewhat. But yeah, a gorgeous meditation on America, it's not. Like, there are better meditations on America. I'm sorry. He's like in a forest for 90% of the movie, you know?
No, absolutely, yeah. It does come across as... everyone always says pretentious, you know, insists upon itself, shallow and pedantic, all that jazz, which I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't entirely begrudge someone trying to praise the film a bit, but yeah, it's very much glazing it to an inappropriate degree. Because the thing is, if you were going to say this, you'd have to say about like so many other films as well, basically. So maybe to be fair, this guy just gives really positive reviews of everything. But yeah,
it's Brian Tallarico, by the way, to credit, just not a nameless critic. But I just saw that and I'm like, I just disagree with it. I was wondering why people loved it so much, and I'm like, yeah, man, like
was it a very good performance?
Yeah, I think it was fine. It was good.
So.
Like, again, there's not a lot of dialogue, to be honest. He's just kind of muted, you know, for a lot of the movie, and I think that's relatively easy to play as an actor. You know, you don't have to do, you know, you don't have to reach for anything. Like, I don't think it was an incredible performance. You know, it was just, it was good. It was what you'd expect from this movie. But yeah, let's get into the script now.
Yes. The film recounts the 80 years of the life of Robert Grenier around Boners Ferry, Idaho. Arriving in the area on the Great Northern Railway as an orphan child, Robert drops out of school and spends his younger years without direction or purpose, until he meets Gladys Olding. They marry, build a log cabin, and have a daughter, Kate. So they said her name Kate enough times that I eventually realized she was a girl, because there was a period of time... So when she's first called Kate, I thought they said Cade, and I thought she was a boy. And in my notes, I wrote about the daughter, like, I wrote, like, he really cares about his son. And then eventually, because, Americans, we all know that they like to dentalize their T's. So eventually I was like, oh, wait, it's Kate, not Cade. That was my adventure. But I will say this, okay, criticism right out the gate. This is actually maybe even one of my more major criticisms. I don't like that this film has quite as much narration as it does. Like, sometimes I'm like, okay with narration, whatever. But generally speaking, I find like narration is it's more tell, don't show, as they say.
No, but I think it needs to have narration, otherwise
Nothing's
nobody
happening.
would... Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
like, the narration is a necessity, yes.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, I do understand that. But maybe that's a problem in itself, if narration's a necessity. Maybe.
Yeah.
I know you would disagree.
Yes,
with
no,
the movie.
I would say, yes, exactly, you're right. That is a problem. It's an inherent problem if you need narration to stop your movie from becoming, like, unwatchable, because otherwise you're just like, what's going on? What am I meant to, like, what's the point of the scene I'm watching? Because, like, nothing's going on.
I would love to see an edit of this movie without any narration, because, like, there's so much narration. If you skip out, you would literally speak out,
Yeah, that would make it even more artistic,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And it go up from 94% on Rotten Tomatoes to 98%, But yeah, you've got some hashtag analysis.
Yes. I always like to say hashtag analysis. Hashtag analysis. One of the most poignant themes is that even the most unremarkable life is actually epic and full of wonder. Robert is just a labourer, but the movie treats his simple experiences, working, loving, and aging, with a mythic spiritual grace. It suggests that every life, no matter how quiet, is a great story. Yeah, I mean, sort of, but like at the same time, they can be more interesting than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is every life a great story? No. I would not say every life is a great story. That's not true. Every life matters. Every life has meaning. But is every life a great story? No. So even the most unremarkable life is actually epic. I don't think that's the case at all. Like, take my life, for instance. I would not call my life epic. I would not call my life remarkable. So and then you again. This is me. This is good old Luke here in the year 2026.
Yeah, being brutally honest.
If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we want to make a movie about your life," I'd be like, "Why?" Like, I'm not that remarkable. Like, who would care? And it's the same for this guy. The one interesting thing about him, his wife and kids die. That's something that doesn't happen to your average Joe. Okay, most people's wife and kids don't die in a forest fire. And again, if he's living in a very interesting period in American history, but again, we don't see that American history that much, to be honest, apart from right at the end. So yeah, I just disagree. Like, to make something entertaining, to make a story intriguing, you're gonna have something better than this guy, Robert Grenier's life. To be honest with you.
No, yeah, I would agree. And the thing is, like, I do feel like. Oh, well, have you seen... Because here's the thing, right? Have you seen the movie? I can't remember if this was nominated for an Oscar. Perfect Days. I feel like...
No.
Okay, basically, it's about a Japanese guy who cleans toilets. That's the plot. But it is genuinely a really good movie. Because, one, it does have that aspect of just being really nice and well shot and all that kind of stuff. But... I don't know, like, it's just... I can't really explain why it's a good movie. But basically, it actually does a really good job at showing the simple beauty in the fact that even though he's doing this kind, like, his job is just he cleans toilets, it's showing that, like, he's still doing something. Like, he's doing, like, his life has a purpose because he cleans the toilets. And yeah, I would actually recommend the movie because it is good. But yeah, like, that's an example of a movie that does this theme, I would say, a lot better. And yeah, I can't give a specific examples because it's a very holistic thing. But with this movie, yeah, I really don't think that it... In fact, I would say his life comes across as quite depressing and unfulfilled. Like, when you think about it, like, imagine getting to the end of your life and you've not got any sort of legacy, you've not really done anything particularly important, and you've barely even ever travelled outside of where you lived.
That's the point that the movie is making. Like, this guy, again, the most unremarkable life. He hasn't left any heirs either. Like, he came into the world an orphan, and he's left without kids. So yeah, but even someone like this, his life is so full of richness and wonder. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe to him. And yeah, again, his, life does have meaning. But the point I'm making, and this is maybe where I'd go against your description of the movie Perfect Day, although of course I haven't seen it, is that does that mean the movie is entertaining? Does that mean it's a good story? And I would say there's two different things there. But yeah, maybe I'll have to watch the Perfect Day or whatever it's called. And get back to you. But let's move on.
I'll watch Saltburn, you watch Perfect Day. Robert takes to railroad construction. There he witnesses a Chinese worker thrown from a bridge by a group of white workers for unclear reasons, probably because he is Chinese, which gives him continually haunting visions of the man and dreams of him being struck by a train. This is the thing. When the whole him being haunted by the Chinese person, you can't say Chinaman, because apparently Chinaman is... It's one of those weird rules. It's like saying someone's a Jew. It just doesn't work. But yeah, basically, I was like, this scene is so random, and it's also kind of like, I guess the reason he's haunted by it is because he kind of didn't really do anything to stop it, but it is quite funny when you consider that he's just like, what did he do? What did he do? As this Chinese guys are being just dragged off and thrown off a bridge, which is a very funny way of dying.
Yeah. He, if this was more realistic, he'd be like, "What did that Chinaman do?" But no, he doesn't say that.
Hey,
but
leave the slant-eyed guy alone.
One of the only two things that happen in this movie, that's what I put down. Of course, it doesn't happen to him, but at least it's something.
I bet that
notable.
Chinese guy had an interesting story.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely, he would have, because of course he's an immigrant, and then he dies in a very savage way. That's interesting. Yeah, and I love how Wikipedia was like, this Chinese worker is killed for unclear reasons. It's like. Probably because he's... it's probably because he's Chinese, That's probably why he was killed. But also, I think in the actual book, I read that the Chinese guy escapes. But he doesn't in this movie, which is interesting. Yeah, and maybe you'll go into why that's the case in the next hashtag analysis.
Hashtag analysis. Before this, Robert is a simple man, focused on work and survival. Seeing a man murdered, not by nature, but by human cruelty, shatters his sense of order. It is his first real encounter with the ugliness that often fueled the building of the modern world. The scene also highlights a dark historical reality. The American West and its railroads were built on the exploitation and dehumanization of immigrant labor. By showing Robert haunted by this, the film suggests that the American dream of this era was literally built over the bodies of the marginalized. The thing is, obviously, in that case, that guy, he didn't contribute to building the railroads because he was dead. So, it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, so I like that because, of course, he sees this guy in his dreams, it haunts him. And that's the real American dream. That's the true American dream, as it were. Like a lot of immigrants dying, which I like that, if that's what the movie's saying, which I think it must be. Or it could just be, he's haunted by this guy. Or maybe there's hopefully there is a deeper thematic thing going on there.
Yeah.
But again, this is near the start of the movie, and I was like, I wasn't expecting the movie to be so empty after this, because it's like, that's something that has happened. But
yes,
I was wrong. So yeah, let's continue.
Mm-hmm. Robert meets many men who leave impressions on him, but witnesses more tragedies along the way. One worker is killed by a vigilante avenging the murder of his brother. Several other workers are killed by a falling tree, their graves marked by pairs of boots nailed to trees. Robert grows close to a fellow logger, Arn Peoples, who is severely injured by a falling branch and then dies a few days later. Yep, people do be randomly dying. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. Progress takes sacrifice, I guess that's the message. And human life is often cheap, and human life is often forgotten. But it shouldn't be forgotten, I guess, is the message that this movie is saying. And I guess, but that is true. Like these people's lives, they shouldn't be so cheap. They shouldn't be forgotten. But that doesn't mean that the story is good. Again, two different things here. But yeah, you got some more analysis.
Yes, some hashtag analysis. The Chinese worker, the murdered brother, the men under the falling trees, these aren't just plot points. They are the ghosts of the land. Robert's train dreams are essentially the collective subconscious of America. The film argues that we're a nation of people haunted by the violence we use to tame the wilderness. Now, can I point out, by the way, America, if anything, is a country famous for not having very many trains. Like that's the defining thing about America is they don't have a mass public transit system.
Well, that's not true. I mean, that's just a really stupid thing to say.
No, I'm smart though.
Back in the day, America was very famous for its railroads. Like railroads were the key to unlocking the West.
Yeah, but they don't have them anymore. So I'm just saying, like they can get over it.
They do have those, railways still. It's just like, again, they're not suitable for mass public transport, you know?
I don't really know if I believe that. I feel like, but
Okay.
I'll trust you. You know, I think sometimes
Yeah.
you're right about stuff, so that's fine.
Again, those themes are, you know, interesting. They're good. But yeah, it's again, it doesn't make up for the fact that there just aren't a lot of plot points. You know, there's only a few of these plot points. You know.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's not really that fun to see, like, you know, these old grizzled workers dying over and over again. And you could say, well, it's you know, the movie isn't meant to be fun. It's not meant to be entertaining. But again, you gotta give me something. You gotta give me a little something. And this movie just consistently fails to do that. But yeah, even though there's a deeper, you know, theme going on, which I appreciate somewhat. So yeah, let's move on.
Robert tries to take up work closer to home. He faces struggles in the post-World War I economy. He and Gladys decide to farm and build a lumber mill so he can stop logging. However, when Robert returns from his final season of logging, he discovers the cabin destroyed in a wildfire with Gladys and Kate missing. It's a classic. He was just one day away from retirement. Oh, it's just, you know, the classic. If he just got there a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So even in this movie, it resorts to these cliches and tropes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't get into the town, and everyone's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Robert. Your wife and your kids, they died in a fire. You know? Like, the fire is raging as he gets into town, you know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like, you're right, yeah. Although I guess these fires last for a while. But then, the fire's literally happening, whatever. Anyway, I tell you what, isn't it weird this film ignores the Great Depression? Isn't that weird?
It kind of ignores it, I think. Isn't there some point where, like, it isn't easy to get work?
Maybe.
But I can't. Again, like, it's so fucking vague sometimes with the narration. But yeah, at least something happened. His wife and kids die. Yeah. Something happened.
Yeah, he should be encouraged to look on the upside. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like something exciting finally happened in your life. You know.
Yeah, count your blessings. So here's some hashtag analysis. A central turning point in the story is an unspeakable tragedy. We did just speak it, where Robert loses his wife and daughter to a wildfire. The rest of his life is defined by a haunted loneliness. The film explores how grief doesn't just go away, but becomes a permanent, quiet companion that shapes a person's entire existence.
Yeah. The only problem with this is he was, like, quiet and reserved before.
That's a good point. Yeah, he wasn't happy. Yeah,
like, his personality doesn't really change after this. You know, he wasn't a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, you know, with a lot of personality, and then all of a sudden, oh, he's this quiet guy, you know, he becomes a hermit. No, I mean, like, yeah, I don't think
it's not really like what's the word? What's that film? A fucking Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, does it explore how grief just doesn't go away? I don't know. I don't think it really does, to be honest, because I don't really see a change in his character. To be honest with you, but yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. Despondent, Robert's friend Ignatius Jet gives him company. Then he rebuilds the cabin. As Robert returns to logging, he becomes out of place amid new technology and younger, rougher men. So he decides to stop. Yeah, I you know, this is a thing you see. It kind of reminded me of a Shawshank Redemption when the guy gets out of prison. He's like,
yeah,
the world's left me behind. Oh no,
everything's changing, and life don't feel the same. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, again, you watch like 5 minutes of this movie, and one thing happens. Like, one line happens where I'm like, oh, okay, I get this now. It's like, yeah, things have moved on, you know. Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's something which you see in a lot of other films. Captain America did this, obviously. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of sad. I mean, obviously, I suppose we didn't mention the whole little conversation they have about, like, the trees have been around for thousands of years, and, like, there is some stuff about, like, how crazy and incomprehensible time is, and I guess this kind of relates to that, but there's, you know, not too much to it, I suppose. Yeah. Anyway, hashtag analysis. Robert quietly surrenders. He is a man who recognizes that both his personal spirit and his manual way of life have been rendered obsolete by the arrival of a faster, colder, and more mechanized modern era. Isn't that how the Grapes of Wrath ends? I think it is.
Yeah. It's a tale as old as time. You know, it was actually shown very well in the movie Cars 3, where Lightning McQueen is told that he has to retire.
Taking a job as a carriage driver, Robert meets Claire Thompson of the Forest Service, who is in town to conduct a survey and encourages him. Yeah, I thought there might be a romance since she lost her husband, but that would be too much of a thing to
Yeah,
happen.
it would be too interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, the Washington Glacier, I can't remember what the glacier is called, but yeah, it's very interesting how, about 10,000 years ago, there was this massive tsunami that, devastated, like, the Pacific Northwest because, all this water, was being stored and the glaciers cracked and melted and then this massive tsunami came through basically and wiped out a lot of like trees and forests in the Pacific Northwest. Claire is this woman who is managing a forest, which is of course different to back in the day when forests weren't managed. You just had like men cut down the trees. Yeah. So see how things are changing.
Yeah.
Everything's changing. Yeah,
One
change
is the loneliest number. That's not the right sentiment.
Yeah, it's like an Anchorman with Veronica Corningstone coming into the office and all the.
This was a day when only men read the news.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, what? Yeah, this is the same thing with Claire meeting Robert. But yeah, you got some good hashtag analysis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hashtag analysis. The lost hashtag analysis. Human insignificance versus nature's power. The imagery of a massive glacier crushing everything in its path mirrors the way the railroad and industrial progress mows down the wilderness. However, it also puts Robert's grief into perspective. It suggests that human suffering, while intense, is a tiny blip compared to the massive violent shifts of the planet. It reinforces the theme that nature is indifferent. It doesn't destroy out of malice, it just moves. There's also another movie that deals with that called The Tree of Life. Yeah,
well, maybe probably better than this. Yeah, again, you have this theme where nature, it doesn't really care about humans, and you're just part of the great circle of life, and you should embrace it despite your loss, which I think is pretty hard to do because again, if you've lost your wife and kids in a fire, like that's a pretty hard thing to move on from.
Why doesn't he just get over losing his wife and kids in the fire? Is he stupid?
Yeah, he must be. Again, that's what this movie is kind of suggesting, I think. But I don't really agree with that necessarily because it's like one of the most devastating things that can happen to anyone, So there you go.
One night, Robert believes he sees an injured Kate apparently return to the cabin, and he tends to her wounds, then plays with baby Kate by the river. However, after a night of dreams, he awakens to find her gone and a window open. Yeah, it's like Inception. Is he dreaming? He is.
Yeah, just like Inception. How many other different movies have we mentioned in this review? But grief blurs the line between memory and reality. That's I guess so.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's like he finally lets go at the end of the movie. He stops hanging on and just becomes an emotionless spirit who's fine with death, and he doesn't really care that his wife and kids are dead because it's all part of the great mystery of life. Yada yada yada.
It's all we're all just compost in the end. Years go by, and the world changes around an aging and weathered Robert, who rides the Great Northern into Spokane, witnessing John Glenn's flight into space on a TV. The film touches on the vanishing way of life in 20th century America, showing Robert witness the world changing from a wilderness into a modern civilization where he feels left behind. Yeah, it's so crazy that we landed on the moon so quickly. It really made it good for people born in the 1870s, 1880s.
Yeah, that they got to see that. Other media do this better.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone's got to do it. The film ends on a spring day when Robert decides to fly in a biplane. As the plane loops and circles in the air, sights and sounds of people and places throughout his life pass through his mind. The narrator recounts that Robert died in his sleep in the cabin in November 1968, leaving no hairs, but that on that spring day in the plane, as he misplaced all sense of up and down, he felt at last connected to it all. How zen. How very zen, indeed.
Yeah.
What a zen tale.
Very Buddhist, very Chinese,
Oh, maybe I could talk.
Okay, calm down. Maybe, that Chinese guy who died, his spirit still lives on within Robert. Well, I don't know. It's just like this Eastern kind of philosophy of we're all one with nature, And of course, his cabin is consumed by nature at the end of the movie, one of the final shots.
Yes.
And he's going up and down the ups and downs of life, And of course, you have the technology change with the plane. Yeah, it all fits. It's it's all beautiful. Life
it's
is
stylistically
beautiful.
Designed to be that way.
Yeah, again, it's again all of these themes don't substitute for a good plot, in my opinion. And I don't even necessarily agree with a lot of these themes either, because again, your wife and kids die.
You're allowed to be sad.
you should be sad, in my opinion. And
if you're not sad, you're kind of a bad person, actually.
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't, at the end of your life, think, yeah, you know what, everything's cool. No, I'd still be pretty pissed with that. That's just me, though. Anyway, let's go to the final hashtag analysis.
Yes, final bit of hashtag analysis. The biplane flight serves as a final, soaring transcendence, where the physical blurring of up and down mirrors the dissolving of the boundaries between Robert's past and the world he inhabited. By dying peacefully, without heirs, Robert's life becomes a closed circle of quiet significance, proving that true connection is found not in what we leave behind, but in the internal peace of finally belonging to the vast mysterious tapestry of existence. Yes.
Bullshit. No, sorry, I don't agree that, that maybe when I die, I'll be like, you know what, there is internal peace. I'm very happy I belong to the vast mysterious tapestry of existence. But I do believe, if you led a very good life, it's easy to think that way,
Yeah.
Again, I'm just maybe I'm just not that spiritual a person, And someone who is spiritual will be like, yeah, I get this. I personally believe, more so than what this movie is implying, that true connection is found with, connecting with people around you, not just being happy that you lived because, you're part of this great tapestry of existence. That's my opinion. I don't know if you disagree, Michael, but yeah.
No, I would also agree that it's good to actually have a connection with other people and not just be part of some abstract notion of connectedness that ultimately, it's not like it's kind of inhuman.
Yeah, because it is abstract. You're right. That's a good word to use. It is abstract. It's like not really there. Like it's nature is nature. It's just it is what it is at the end of the day. We are all connected in some way, I guess. But these are like systemic things. That can be broken or enhanced in some way or another. Like again, true connection comes with connecting with like other human beings, or other like maybe you can connect with your dogs, which he does in the second half of the movie. But I don't think you'd say, oh yeah, that's well, your wife died, but at least you've got a new dog. I don't think that would make up for that, But yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Basically, it's like whatever great understanding you come to at the end of your life, it doesn't make up for the fact that you would rather have your wife and kids still alive. You'd rather that be the case.
Yeah.
Because to act like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what happened to me in my life. I'm just glad I existed. I just don't think that's realistic, and that's what this movie is kind of saying. But anyway, let's conclude. You go first.
Yeah. So basically, overall, this film is well, the thing is, it's not terrible as an experience. If you're going to be a nerd and like really try and think it through, then you could say, well, there's not like that much to get out of it. But if you kind of just sit there and I guess be zen in keeping with the film, just like, oh, let me just experience this film. There is something to be said for it. It's not, and like I say, it's not kind of offensive. Like there's nothing in it that's particularly to dislike, but at the same time, there's the cost of being nothing particularly to like either. But I was going to say, oh yeah, the one thing I would say is, the fact the film is reasonably short, at least it doesn't waste your time. I do appreciate that. A little bit of not wasting my time. Always good to see. I'm going to give it a high 6.
Okay, I'm going to give it a low 6. 6 out of 10. That's what I'm going to give it. Yeah, again, the lack of plot was frustrating. At least the themes were there. But yeah, I don't think I necessarily agree with all of the themes either. So yeah, 6 out of 10. Michael, let's talk about The Secret Agent for 5 minutes.
Yes.
So obviously you completely embarrassed and humiliated yourself last time by not seemingly understanding what was a relatively simple movie in The Secret Agent. You just had no idea. You just forgot characters. You forgot plot points. It was an absolute disaster that should honestly make you reevaluate your whole life. So yeah, how did you find it watching it the second time?
Well, so basically, I realized that it's probably like good sometimes to actually read a brief description of the plot beforehand. But yeah, once I watched it for the second time, I honestly had absolutely no idea what was happening. No, I'm joking. But I had, I don't even feel bad at all. Like I was actually, even as I was watching the film for the second time, I was like, holy shit, this is like so, like you get through so much of the film before they give you any idea what's going on. Like by my reckoning, it's like not even like an hour, like it's like an hour until you even get the idea of like who's got them on the run, all that stuff. Also there was a moment you're like this. So basically what happened is, when he is working at the licensing place, first of all, I still wrote down, because I wrote down notes again, that he was a cop. Because I know he wasn't a cop, but he's working with cops, so I keep thinking he's a cop, even though he's working at a license. Yeah, and then I remembered, it's a licensing place.
you're fucking reacting to this movie like a dog. I don't know, or like an animal, like not like a human. You can comprehend stuff like is
Yeah.
yeah.
But then this is what happened. Okay, this was the moment. This was the second time I was watching. I was like, oh man, I misunderstood this movie so much. I thought that Marcello was Armando. Oh, I'm so stupid. But then what happened is a bit more of the movie passed, and I was like, oh wait, no, Marcello is Armando is pretending to be Marcello. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, so this is all stuff you should have just gotten immediately. Like I will say, but yes, the movie. It does take like an hour or so to understand what's happening in the movie because the movie doesn't spoon feed you information. But then if you are paying attention, which again you should have been paying attention, which you obviously weren't. It was like, oh, it all starts to make sense now. Oh, I get it. Like all the pieces of the puzzle connect, and then you get it relatively easy. But yeah, the problem with you is you just weren't paying attention. You were. It was like you were watching this movie like drunk or something. You're picking up bits and pieces here and there, and you're trying to piece it together in your brain, but you can't do it. And this is the problem with it. You need to start actually paying attention to movies, but I don't think
but the thing is, I stand by the fact that like this movie, like the problem is that like I've never ever found a movie as difficult to understand as this movie. Even the second time round, I was like, okay, like now I'm like really actively trying because
yeah, but I asked you about the father-in-law character last time, remember, and you just didn't know who he was, even though like, there's multiple scenes of like this guy being you have to understand quite easily that this guy is the father-in-law to our main character.
Yeah, the projectionist McGee.
Yeah, and you just didn't know. You just had no idea. So that I'm sorry. That's just like that's
no.
Not
Yeah, I was. It was a little bit more difficult than it was a little bit harder for me. To be fair, the first time I watched it.
But that's not a plot point though, is it? That's just who is this character? It's and his character. It isn't hidden. Like his job is known from the very start. When you first meet him in the movie. So yeah, like again, that was just a classic case of you not paying attention. And yeah, you should try and do that. Maybe like take some Adderall before you watch a movie. I don't know, like kids with ADHD, they get like these drugs which make them pay attention. Maybe you should do that, especially before you watch a foreign movie.
Yeah, I mean these foreign movies are a lot harder. That's definitely true. I agree with you there, Luke.
Harder for you.
Harder for everyone.
You. Yeah.
Overall, though, this time I grew and I learned, and now my understanding is just so deep.
Okay, that's great. Did you like the movie then?
Not really. So basically, I think it was still good. Let me think. It was. I think it was quite long for a movie that I don't think it had. Like, it didn't have that much to it in terms of the plot. Because really it's just there's like this cat and mouse thing. But I will say, so obviously the theme that you pointed out, and I did like this theme of basically the fact, I'm going to phrase it in my own way, corruption kind of, when you live in a society that has corruption at the top, that corruption kind of seeps down such that it has an impact on even just the average person's life. And
yes.
This guy, he didn't want to have to get involved in all this shit. He didn't ask for any of this, but
yes.
just because he's kind of unlucky to be living in a shitty society where corrupt people with power can use their corrupt influence. I did like that as an aspect. I thought that was like that would, I say, be the big positive.
The title is The Secret Agent. Like he's a secret agent. No, but he is a secret agent. Like he's an agent, even though he doesn't think he is. So he's like secret. You understand?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Again, I really do like that. Anyway, let us now rank the 10 Best Picture nominees. You should have this in front of you, hopefully, because I do. So, of course, we have reviewed all 10 Best Picture nominees from the 2026 Oscars, and we're going to go through them and just tell everyone where we put them. So I'll go first. So, what is my 10th movie, the worst movie nominated for Best Picture this year? It was F1, which is not really surprising. And I gave F1 a 4 out of 10. Even though it is one of my favourite sports, the movie was not good. Should never have been nominated for Best Picture, but there you go. It was, for technical reasons, it got the nomination. What about you, Michael?
So, sorry, we're starting with the lowest, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good. For me, my lowest was also F1. Which I gave, and I'm not gonna lie, Luke, I don't I didn't write down the exact rating I gave them, but I'm just gonna.
Okay.
I wrote down a number. I gave it a 3 out of 10. I can't remember if I gave it. I probably gave it a high 3. And yeah, that's just because I found it very boring.
Yeah, we don't need to do
it
this.
the right way. Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, so for me, yeah, 3.
Okay.
F1.
I actually didn't say what. Oh no, I did say what my Train Dreams rating was. Yeah, I've given Train Dreams a 6 out of 10, which means it's my 9th best movie.
So my my next best movie was Sinners, and I stand because basically the thing with Sinners is sorry, we're not explaining anything. So yeah, next one was Sinners.
That is kind of crazy though. You had Sinners as your second.
I know, yeah,
last.
Considering, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ranking.
Yeah, but to be honest, I will say this: Sinners. The only thing I'll say is Sinners is the one that I have the most active negative feelings about, right? Because all the other ones, like maybe they didn't quite, they weren't fully hitting me where I live. Like I had issues with them, but Sinners was the one where I was like, oh wait, there are like major issues with the construction of this plot. And again, it kind of depends how it balances out, because you also say it has more positives than a lot of other films, but I don't know. Yeah. Negatives bother me more.
Okay, so my 8th ranked movie was Hamnet, with a 6.5. What about your 8th?
So this is probably not going to mean very much, but my 8th ranked movie was The Secret Agent.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable perhaps. Yes. But yeah, so I've got Hamnet and Train Dreams at 8 and 9, showing what I think of these like Oscar baity movies. Anyway, so number 7, Marty Supreme with a 7.
Number 7, Hamnet with a 6.
Okay, number 6, Frankenstein with a 7. I'm surprised how high up Frankenstein was, to be honest. But yeah.
Number 7, Sentimental Value.
6.
Sorry,
number 6.
Number 6. Yeah, sorry. Number 6, Sentimental Value.
Okay, so you got
7.
You got Frankenstein above that. So
6,
my number 5 is Sentimental Value, which I gave a 7.5.
Number 5, Train Dreams, 7.
Oh wow, that's really
6.
That's
7.
really high. Yeah, that's crazy how high that is. So yeah, your 5th best is Train Dreams. Wow, that's 9th to 5th. That's a massive difference. So my number 4 is Sinners with a 7.5.
My number 4 is Frankenstein. Crazy.
Yeah, that is quite high. I thought mine was high. My number 3 is The Secret Agents with an 8.
My number 3 is Marty Supreme, so that's a lot higher than yours. But I don't know why, because I didn't even like it that much. But I didn't like any of it's actually crazy. I didn't like any of these films that much.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing that. My number 2 was Begonia with an 8.
And my number 2 was One Battle After Another. Yeah, which is like, but even then, I still didn't love that film that much. Okay. At the start, I thought One Battle After Another, but actually, yeah, well done. It's in 2nd place.
Yeah, and my number 1 is One Battle After Another with an 8.5.
Well, I think there's a consensus on what the 2 best films are then. Yeah, for me, Begonia, I think I preferred that to One Battle After Another, just because it was more interesting. And I will say, if there was one of these films I would have to watch again, shockingly, it wouldn't be The Secret Agent, but I have watched that twice anyway. But yeah, if there's one film I'd be really interested to watch again, it would be Begonia. So that tracks.
Yeah, it would be One Battle After Another for me. So yeah, there you go. What I have done, by the way, is I have rated, or I have compiled all Oscar-nominated movies over the the years that we've done this, and I've given them an average rating, based on the year. So 2026 it got an average rating of 7 from me exactly. So 7.0 for the 10 Best Picture nominees, and out of the 9 years we've done this, that puts 2026 in 6th place. So yeah, 6 out of 9. So one of the worst, one of the worst years of these Oscar Best Picture nominees that we've done. Number 1 is the first year we did it, which is 2018, which I don't know. Again, maybe I was just rating things too highly back then. Anyway, The Shape of Water won Best Picture for that year, and it was one of the worst movies we reviewed. So yeah, what are we doing next time?
Next time we're doing... Oh, I'm actually quite excited for this, just because, there's something really nice about when we get to the end of the Oscars. Because it's all these Oscar movies, we're doing The Devil Wears Prada. I'm not gay or anything, but it's just there's something kind of fun about the fact that we're moving on to that.
The Devil Wears Prada, because of the release of The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
That is coming out. So yeah, join us for that. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke, and this is the end of our Oscar extravaganza. So yeah, join us for another one next year. But yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.